Hi everyone, we'll get started shortly. I'm Casey Tarian with Blue Point Yoga, and this is our Yoga Basics series. For the next 6 weeks, we're going to be doing a live free version of Yoga Basics every Thursday night starting at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. So I hope you'll continue to join us. And as always, please like and subscribe to our channel so you can get notified of our streams that come up. We'll get started in about 4 minutes, officially at the top of the hour. If you are joining us and you are not signing up through our bluepointyoga.com website, you will want a pillow or a bolster. This is a bolster, so you'll want something like a pillow or even taking a blanket or a towel and rolling it up into a tube-like shape that can be nice and comfortable but firm. And then you'll also want things like blocks. You don't necessarily have to specifically have blocks, but you'll want things like a sturdy cardboard box or perhaps water bottles or even books, hard-covered books, not paperback. Paperback, your hands can slip. And then the other thing is a blanket. So a towel or a blanket, something that you can roll up or sit on or use for quite literally anything. So we'll get started in about 3 minutes or so. So welcome and enjoy class tonight. For those of you who are joining, who are Blue Point Yoga members, I'm streaming live from within the studio, and it is really fun to be in here tonight, and I miss seeing all of you in person, but I'm really grateful that you can join us tonight through our live stream. If you see me shivering, it's because it's 65 degrees in here, so we'll get warm through our Yoga Basics class. So I have no worries about that, but I am shivering right now. So if you see me kind of shaking a little bit, it's because it's cold in here. But we'll get started in about 2 minutes officially. Again, I'm Casey Tarian with Blue Point Yoga. Welcome to our Yoga Basics series. This is a 6-week series that we're offering for free, live streaming to you through YouTube at 7 o'clock Eastern Time for the next 6 Thursdays. So hopefully you'll continue to log in and sign up to join us. If you are just logging in, if you missed my little announcement, you're going to want a bolster or a pillow. You can use a pillow-like object. Even a couch cushion can be useful. For a bolster, you could also use a beach towel and roll it up into a burrito-like shape. The other things that you're going to want are 2 blocks, and those can be cardboard boxes. You can do water bottles. You can also do something like sturdy books, hardcover books, hardcover, not paperback. And if you have them, even like the size of a dictionary would be great. It's a nice thick book. And then the other thing that I'm sitting on that you can't really see is a yoga blanket. So something that you can roll up like a towel, any throw blanket, anything like that can be useful. And again, we'll get started at the top of the hour, and so just about 30 to 45 seconds or so, and welcome. Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Casey Tarian with Blue Point Yoga, and this is our Yoga Basics 6-week series. We are offering free Yoga Basics through the end of March, so I'm excited that you're joining us tonight. If you missed me at the few minutes ago, you are going to want some props tonight. So something like a pillow, couch cushion, like a bolster, a towel or a blanket that you can roll up, and 2 blocks, something that you can put your hands on for sturdiness. You can use this as sturdy cardboard boxes, food boxes, like a cereal box could even work too. And we're going to get started in a seated posture tonight. I'm sitting up on a blanket. I have a rolled up blanket underneath the fleshy part of my bum, and I'm seated on top of this so I can have my pelvis tilting slightly forward. So you can kind of see that my knees are about a little bit lower than where my hips are. So I'm allowing this forward motion in my pelvis. And as you're seated here in an easy seated posture, cross-legged, in yoga this is called Sukhasana. So you might hear people call it Sukhasana, you might hear people call it an easy seated pose, but really easy is relative. You'll hear me say that word quite often tonight. It's relative to you. So maybe this is not comfortable for you. So finding your comfortable seated position. And then once you get there, we're going to start our practice by focusing in on our breath. In yoga, this is called pranayama. So we're going to do some breath work. And then we'll get started towards the asana part, the movement. The postures that you all know and love yoga for. So sitting in your easy seated pose, maybe you have your palms face down on your thighs, feeling like you can sit up nice and tall, and allow your shoulders to just float away from your ears. Begin to close your eyes, or maybe just focus on a gaze out in front of you, maybe about 6 inches or so. And allow yourself to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Inhale and exhale. Continue to take these focused breaths in and out. Maybe just a couple of more times, noticing your body's reactions as you take your inhale. Maybe you start to feel like you can take a little bit more inhale. You can kind of feel that inhale rising up. Maybe you can imagine it's starting from the tips of your toes, traveling up through your body to the top of your head. And as you exhale, maybe you can start to feel the breath as it travels from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes. Continuing to breathe in and out, noticing how your body is reacting to these concentrated breaths, your inhales and your exhales. Now, if you are breathing through your mouth, see if you can begin to seal your lips together and perhaps begin to start taking your inhales and your exhales through your nose. And if that's too much, if that's too challenging, just come back to breathing how you just were. But if you can, see if you can seal your lips, and we'll take about 3 to 4 more rounds of breath. So if you can, breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your nose. And that's 1 full round of breath. Breathing in through your nose. And breathing out through your nose. And now just allow your breath to just come naturally. It's something that we don't think about. It's something that just happens. So we were just doing a concentrated breathing, focusing in on our inhales and on our exhales. And see if you can let that go. When you're ready, if you had your eyes closed, begin to open them up, maybe flutter them, taking your time to adjust the light. So before we begin moving, we're going to wake our spine up. And so when you come to a yoga class, you might notice that a teacher will take you through what's called the 6 movements of the spine to warm up the spine for the rest of our practice. So from our nice seated posture, take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, begin to twist open to the right by drawing your left hand to the top of your right thigh. And maybe this is your twist, right here. If you want to deepen this maybe a little bit more, we're still pretty early on in our practice. Maybe you just put your right hand by your right hip for support. And you can look wherever is comfortable for your neck. If you want to look straight ahead, feel free. Or maybe you start to turn your head to the right. Continuing to breathe in and out. And see if you can tap into that breathing pattern of sealing your lips. So breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. Take another inhale in your twist off to the right. And then once you start to feel an exhale, start to turn back towards the center. And we'll pause here for a moment. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Take one more inhale. And then as you exhale, we're going to begin to twist off to the left. So bring the right hand to the left thigh. And maybe you just start to turn your torso to the left. You might just stay here. Again, your gaze may look forward. If you want the support, you can bring your left hand maybe just behind the left hip. Or maybe your gaze is looking off to the left. Keeping a nice tall spine here. If you find that you have to rock back or you have to lean forward, that's a sign that you've gone too far in your twist. So just start to come out of it a little bit and find a nice tall structure in your spine. See where you can be nice and seated tall with a little bit of a twist. Continuing to breathe. Again, maybe if you can, through your nose, inhale and exhale. On your next inhale, slowly begin to turn your torso back to neutral, bringing your hands to your thighs. And take a deep exhale here. Let's take a full round of breath in through the nose and out through the nose. On your next inhale, take your right hand and come up onto your fingertips and put your right hand just outside of your right hip. On your next inhale, begin to draw your left arm up towards the ceiling. So again, as we did in our spinal twist, making sure that we're keeping this nice length in our torso, in our spine. Notice whatever you're sitting on, that we're going to keep the structure of the legs right where they are. We're only going to change our spine and our left arm. So take a deep breath in. As you exhale, begin to walk your right fingertips towards the right side. As you do that, you'll start to lean to the right, and your left arm is going to stretch off to the right. But you see here, nothing about my hips, my legs, my feet, nothing changed here. So if you are coming up off your left hip, you've gone too far, so come back down, and maybe your arm is up here on the left side. Maybe you're not laterally stretching off to the right so far. Maybe you're somewhere in between. Taking a deep breath in through your nose, and a deep breath out through your nose. Breathing in and breathing out. On your next inhale, begin to come up onto your fingertips on the right fingers. Walk your right fingers back so you can come to an upright spine. Then releasing your left hand down by your hips. We're coming up to our fingertips here, so we're just moving on to the other side. So coming to the left fingertips, outside your left hip. On your inhale, begin to reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. So again, nothing about the lower half is changing. We're still rooted, we're still seated, we're here. Nothing about the hips down are changing. Take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, walk your left fingertips off to the left as you stretch your right fingers, right hand off towards the left. And again, if you've come up so far from keeping your right hip down, if you're way into the left hip, back off this lateral stretch. And still breathe. Breathe in and out. Again, if you can, sealing your lips and seeing if you can breathe just through your nose. Again, if that ever brings any strain or challenge, come back to just breathing in the most accessible way that you can. On your next inhale, tent up your left fingertips, come to the finger pads, and then walk your left fingertips back towards your left hips. You can come to an upright spine and release your right hand back down by your side. We're now going to move into what's known as our cat and cow posture. So begin to make your way onto both hands and knees in what's called a tabletop position. If you need to, you can feel free to put a blanket or a towel underneath your knees for support. So begin to make your way towards a tabletop position. Once you get there, begin to have your knees and your hips more or less in line. And when we typically come to a tabletop position, we tend to have our shoulders and our wrists and elbows stacked on one another. But I'm going to ask you to walk your hands just slightly ahead of your shoulders. So if you're in your tabletop position and you're feeling a lot of weight from your shoulders and elbows crushing down into your wrists, step your wrists and hands forward about a hand placement so they're just slightly ahead of the shoulders. Making sure that the tops of your feet are pressing down into the mat. Begin to look at your hands. Notice where the weight is in your hands. You might be feeling this in your wrists right now. So see if you can actually press down through the knuckle ridges of each finger and each thumb. And try this with me. We're going to spread our fingertips really wide. So staying in your tabletop position, spread your fingers really wide. This is going to be really important when we get towards our vinyasas. We're not going to do, maybe we'll get to one tonight, but we're not going to do a full vinyasa. But maybe when you want to come to a class that has more of an arm balance focused or a flow 1, 2, or even 2 and beyond, You might want to be mindful of the structural integrity to make sure that you're not dumping all of the weight into your wrist, but also making sure that you're supported and not sliding when you come into a plank pose or even a chaturanga or a downward facing dog. So really spread your fingers out really wide here. So fingers spread wide. Press down through the knuckle ridges of your fingers. Maybe start to feel the weight shifting into your finger pads, and then just lift the wrists. So really press down through the finger pads and lift the wrists off the mat. So it's that kind of effort that we're looking for. Now, place the wrists back down. Place your wrists back down on your mat, and then see if you can sort of recreate that sensation where we had the wrists lifted, pressing down through the finger pads. So it's that kind of effort that you're looking for. So from our tabletop position, our fingers are spread wide. On your next inhale, begin to allow your belly to drift towards the mat as you stay on all fours. As your belly starts to drift towards the mat, you might start to notice this arching through the spine, making that U-like shape. Maybe your gaze starts to lift, so you're really arching through your spine. This is called cat and cow. As you exhale, begin to tuck your chin in towards your chest as you look down towards the mat, and then really draw your belly in towards your spine, pressing down through your finger pads, rounding through the upper back. So if you've ever seen a scared cat graphic on Halloween, I don't look exactly like a cat, but the roundedness through the upper back is that scared cat sort of posture. On your inhale, allow your belly to float down towards the mat as you draw your chest between your shoulders. Gaze might lift, arching through your spine. As you exhale, pull your belly button in towards your spine as your chin tucks in. Really round through the upper back, maybe press down through the finger pads. Inhale, arch your spine, look forward. As you exhale, round through your back, chin tucks in. And let's do this a couple more times, linking our breath with movement. So your inhale, you'll arch through your spine. Your exhale, draw your belly button in, round through the upper back. Last one on your own inhale. Exhale. Once you finished with your exhale, come back to a neutral tabletop position. And then we're just going to sit back. Maybe you sit on your heels. Maybe you come to an easy seated posture. And just shake out your wrists. Give your wrists and hands a little bit of some love. That's a lot to do on the wrists. You might even circle through the wrists. You might even clench your fingers and then fan them out, making tight fists and letting them go. So remember that structure that we had in our tabletop. Begin to make your way back towards your tabletop position. Fingers spread wide. Noticing here, maybe you have your index finger starting to point towards the top of your mat. If you need to turn your wrist slightly out to do that, do so. And if you need to, use up the space of your mat. You can have one hand on the left side of your mat and one hand on the right. So in our tabletop position, we're pressing down through the finger pads. Our fingers are spread wide, wrists slightly ahead of the shoulders. Begin to tuck your toes. Press down through the finger pads. Press back through the toes. Begin to lift your knees, lift your hips, and we're gonna bring them up and back for our first downward facing dog. So heels may not be close towards the mat, and that's okay. Maybe you have a really deep bend here, and that's okay too. Wherever you are in your downward facing dog, begin to look forward at your hands. Did your fingers start to come close to one another? Spread them wide. Spread them so wide, 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 wide. Press down through the knuckle ridges of each finger as your heels try to reach towards the mat. They might not, and they might not ever get to the mat, but we're trying to reach them there. And then from our downward facing dog, begin to bend your right knee, straightening through the left. Begin to bend into the left knee, straightening through the right. And then we'll just alternate between bending one knee as we straighten the other. Just going back and forth as slowly as you'd like. Breathing in through our noses. Did you remember to continue to breathe? Even through challenging poses. Breathing in and breathing out. And if you have to open your mouth, just breathe. Doesn't really matter how you're breathing. All that matters is that you are breathing. But if you can, seal those lips and breathe through your nose. Let's take about 1 or 2 more knee bends on both sides. And then come to stillness in your downward facing dog. Begin to press down through your hands. So really press down through your hands. Begin to bend your knees just slightly. And then we're going to walk forward. We're going to walk. Take a slow walk with your feet forward towards your hands, maybe even tenting up your fingertips. And walking towards our hands, coming towards what's called a standing forward fold. You might have a generous bend in the knees. If you have blocks or props, you might even just press your hands on them. And here's where you can play. This is really fun here. You can just kind of hang out. You can just drape over the legs. You might even grab your opposite elbows, maybe having a slight bend in the knees as you sway side to side. Might even shake your head out, yes and no. Bringing your belly closer to your thighs. Breathing in and breathing out. If you're taking a subtle movement, come to stillness in your standing forward fold. If you're holding onto your hands or elbows, release your hands down by your feet. On our next inhales, slide your palms up to maybe your shins, your knees, or even your thighs as you come to a halfway lift. So allowing this lengthening of the spine from your waist. And your gaze is about maybe 6 inches to a foot in front of you. So you're not tipping the head back, so you're not making that arching in the neck, and you're not dropping the head. You're kind of just looking ahead of you. So staying in this halfway lift. On your next exhale, slide your palms down your legs and come back to a forward fold. On your next inhale, slide your palms to shins, knees, or thighs. Come to your halfway lift once again. As you exhale, begin to drape over your knees, forward folding. Notice that we're linking breath to movement here. Inhale, come up to your halfway lift. As you exhale, come back down to your forward fold. We'll do this one more time. Your inhale, you'll lift. Your exhale, you'll lower. This time, when we come up, bring your arms out to the side. So really open them up to a T. And then draw your shoulder blades towards one another. Use that leverage. Use your arms to draw yourself to come all the way up to standing. And then lift your arms up towards the ceiling. So think length here. Length, length, length. I'm only 5'5", but I feel really tall when I'm standing up like this. And then as you exhale, bring your arms out and down to the sides, standing tall in what's known as our mountain pose or Tadasana. Take a deep breath in through your nose and then exhale through your nose. On your next inhale, bring your arms out and up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, begin to bring your arms down to the sides. As soon as they come to your sides, start to hinge at your hips. So start to come to that forward fold, bend into your knees, and then drape over your legs. Inhale, come to your halfway lift by bringing your palms to shins, knees, or thighs. Exhale, lower. Bring your arms out. Use the leverage of drawing your shoulder blades together to come all the way up to standing with your arms up above your head. And then slowly exhale your hands down by your side. Stand tall, mountain pose, or Tadasana. We'll do that 2 more times, linking our breath to movement. Inhale your arms out and up. As you exhale, bring your hands down by your side and forward fold. Inhale, halfway lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale your arms out and up as you rise to stand tall as your arms extend up overhead. Exhale, Tadasana. Nice. Following your breath, I'll cue you, but we'll do this one more time. Inhale your arms out and up towards the ceiling. Your exhale, forward fold. Your inhale, halfway lift. Your exhale, fold. Your inhale, bring your arms out and up towards the ceiling. Your exhale, stand tall, Tadasana. That is known as a half sun salutation, Ardha Surya Namaskar. Bring your hands to heart center, bringing the hands together, palms to touch. Maybe your thumbs are embracing your chest. We're going to keep the left foot forward and begin to step your right foot behind you. And we're going to plant our heel at about a 45-degree angle. So we're going to make our way towards what's known as a warrior one posture. So having about a 45-degree angle with your right foot behind you, your heel is flat. If you notice that you're feeling a little wonky, take a look at your feet. You want your left foot to be towards the left side of your mat, so maybe you heel toe it over a little bit. You want your right foot towards the right side of your mat. So maybe you step your right foot towards the right side of your mat. Your hips are going to be right wherever they are. They're probably going to be looking more diagonally towards the right side of your room. You're just going to move your torso. So you're going to turn your torso towards the front. So you see my hips didn't move, just my torso did. Press down through the outer edge of your right foot, so the foot behind you, and then press into the knee, your left knee, to draw your left knee forward. So it's more or less in line with your ankle. And then lift your arms up towards the ceiling. This is a warrior one. If your arms are extended up towards the ceiling, notice whether or not your shoulders are crowding your ears, and see if you can relax them just a little bit down your back. Still breathing in and out through your nose. From your warrior one, begin to bring your hands back down to your heart center. Bring your thumbs into your chest. We're going to shift towards coming to lifting our right heel. So come up onto your right toes, lifting your right heel. We'll be here. This is a high lunge. We'll just be here very briefly. And then we're going to step our right foot forward to meet our left. So just step forward to the top of your mat. Come to standing tall. Release your hands down. Mountain pose. Bring your hands to heart center. We're going to keep the right foot forward this time as you step your left foot back. So coming towards your warrior one. So left foot is at about a 45-degree angle. And your right foot is coming towards the right edge of the right side of your mat. Your left foot is towards the left edge. You want to be on what's called railroad tracks, not a tightrope. So if you need to walk the foot forward or back, feel free. You're pressing down through the right foot, allowing the right knee to come about where your ankle is. And you're rolling into the outer edge of your left foot. Again, your hips might be pointing diagonally towards the left, but we're going to turn our torso towards the front of the room. So again, my hips haven't changed their orientation. They're still off towards the left. My torso is forward. When you're ready, begin to bring your arms up over your head. Breathing in and out through your nose. Feeling the strength that you've got here. Maybe your stance, this structure, is a little bit shorter. So maybe your feet are a little bit more closer together than mine are. But you're still getting the strength from this posture, this warrior posture. Notice whether or not you're gripping your right toes. If you are, see if you can lift the toes and fan them out, and then release them back down. Begin to bring your hands towards your heart center, thumbs embracing your chest. We're going to make that transition. So begin to come up onto the left toes, lifting the left heel. And then we're just going to step the left foot forward to meet the right. And then releasing our hands down, standing tall in our mountain pose, our Tadasana. On your inhale, bring your arms out and up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, dive forward, coming to your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale your arms out and up as you rise to stand tall. And then exhale, Tadasana, mountain pose. So if you have blocks or if you have props that are like blocks, you might want them nearby. We are going to come towards a posture that you may or may not want them. So coming to standing tall at the top of your mat, I would just recommend having the blocks or props near the top of your mat so you can easily reach them if you need them. So bringing your hands once again back to heart center. This time we're going to keep the left foot forward, and we're going to step our right foot back, but we're going to spin our right foot so it's parallel to the short edge of our mat. So it's about a 90-ish degree angle. This is called a warrior two. Once your feet are stable, look down at your feet and then see, is the left heel, your left heel, if you drew a line, would it intersect with the arch of your right foot? For me, it would not. So I'm going to just move my left foot slightly towards the center to come about that line. And you look down and see, okay, that's roughly about there. Open your arms up and out to a T. And this is what's called a warrior two, a Virabhadrasana two. So we're still having that 90-ish degree angle in the front knee, ankle, more or less in line. And our gaze is looking off our left fingertips. But we're still, again, like our warrior one, we're still rolling into the outer edge of our right foot. So it's not just hanging out here. We're allowing ourselves to use both legs equally. Though it might feel like this front leg's got a lot going on. The back leg's not just hanging out there. It's still equally being used just as hard. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Breath in, breath out. When you're ready, on your next inhale, begin to straighten through your left leg. As you do that, you start to notice that your left hip, you start to straighten here, right? You see this movement, your left hip starts to come back as your right hip starts to sort of round forward. Keep your arms still lifted in this T-like shape, but really press down through your left big toe. So again, we're still pressing through the outer edge of your right foot, but we're still pressing down through the big toe joint. We're going to come towards a triangle pose, or also known as Trikonasana. This is where it might be helpful if you have a block or a prop that you can rest your hand on. It might be helpful to have this within reach. We're going to extend our left fingertips as far forward as they can go as we lean over our left leg. And then we'll bring the left palm, back of the left palm up against our shin, maybe our thigh, or if you have a block or prop, you can put it to the inside of your left foot to rest your hand on. So if you have a prop, I do highly recommend using a prop here. So the inside of your left foot. So my left hand is on my block. And you can leave your right hand on your hip, but draw your shoulder back. So this is a Trikonasana, triangle pose. In some classes, if you're feeling stable, I'll give you this one option. You might lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. And your gaze can be wherever is okay on your neck. You could look down at your left foot. You could look back at your right foot. You could look straight ahead. You could look up. But continue to keep drawing your left hip back. Continuing to breathe in and out. On your next inhale, begin to bend back into your left knee. And then rise back up to your warrior two. We'll straighten through our left leg once again. And then we'll turn our left toes so they face the side of the room, just so we can transition to a warrior two on this other side. So turning your right foot, so it faces forward as your left foot is parallel to the short edge of your mat. And then begin to bend into your right knee. Take your block or prop with you, since we are probably now towards the back of your mat, and bring your arms out to a T. So this is our warrior two on our right side, or Virabhadrasana 2 on the right side. So again, noticing where's your alignment. So for me, my left foot is really off to the left side of my mat. So I'm actually going to straighten my legs, and then I'm just going to heel toe so I can get that heel to arch alignment. So I'm still within that line. And then I'll bend right back into my right knee. Gaze is looking off my fingertips. Pressing down through both legs. Feeling the strength. Even when it feels like maybe 90–95% of the weight is in my front leg. Breathing in. Breathing out. Take one more inhale. One more exhale. When you're ready on your next inhale, straighten through your right leg. Press down through your big toe joint. Draw your right hip back. Your left hip starts to round slightly forward. We're going to have our arms straighten once again in the T. And then on your inhale, begin to extend your right fingertips as far forward as they'll go. And then you'll find the back of your right hand somewhere to the inside of your right leg. I'm highly recommending you come to a block, and your left hand can come onto the left hip. Your gaze can look wherever is most comfortable for your neck, but you're still rooting down through your big toe joint of your right foot and using the leverage of yourself rolling into your left foot behind you. If you feel stable, you might lift your left arm up to the ceiling. Continuing to breathe in and out. On your next inhale, begin to bend into your right knee. We're going to come right back up to our warrior two with the right knee bent. Begin to straighten through your right leg. We'll turn our right toes so they face the long edge of our mat. And then we're just going to turn to face the top of our mat once again. All right, so we're going to play with a little bit of Chaturanga posture, and so that's a part of a vinyasa flow. You may or may not get to that point at some point throughout your yoga practice, but make sure that you do have a pillow or a bolster or a couch cushion or a towel that you can roll up in like the burrito shape. And so just make sure that's within reach, because we'll come to that very shortly. All right, so from standing tall at the top of your mat, we're going to make our way down towards the mat once again. So bring your arms out and up towards the ceiling on your inhale. As you exhale, dive forward. We're coming back towards that half sun salutation. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale your arms out and up as you rise to stand tall. Exhale, Tadasana. Inhale your arms out and up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, hinge at the hips and forward fold. Inhale, we'll halfway lift. Exhale, we'll fold. This time, bring your hands down to the mat, bend into your knees, and we'll step one knee back, then the other, and we'll come to a tabletop position. Once you're in tabletop position, feel free to grab your bolster, your pillow, whatever you're going to be using for support. And draw your knees towards the edges of your mat. So we'll play with this for just a little bit, just so you can sort of see the mechanism, the structure of how a Chaturanga works, and then we'll make our way towards our final resting pose because we're getting close to the end of our practice tonight. So coming up onto hands and knees, have your hands, again, wrists are slightly ahead of the shoulders. Your knees and hips are more or less in line. And you have your prop, your blanket, your towel, your pillow, whatever you're going to use, slightly ahead of you in between your hands. Again, remembering to have your fingers spread wide, pressing down through the knuckle ridges of each hand. And though it might be hard, your fingers might be coming off the mat about, I would say, 3/4 of mine are coming off the mat because of where the bolster is. But you're still spreading your fingers wide. We're going to play with our Chaturanga on our knees for just a couple of moments, and then we'll be coming down. So on your inhale, begin to shift your shoulders slightly ahead of your wrists. So now I've kind of counteracted what I've been saying all night, right? So I said, well, have your wrists slightly ahead of your shoulders. Now bring your shoulders slightly ahead of your wrists. You can start to see I'm starting to elongate through my spine a little bit more. I'm starting to have this like forward tilt. And then begin to bend into your elbows, hug your elbows into your rib cage, and then lower down onto your pillow or your towel. Keep hugging your rib cage with your elbows. Begin to press down through your palms, lift back up, come to your tabletop. We'll do that about 2 more times. So on your inhale, shift your shoulders slightly ahead of your wrist. Hug your elbows in and lower down to your pillow or your blanket, your prop that's out in front of you. Keep your elbows hugged in. Press down through your palms, lift back up. Shift your weight back to your tabletop. We'll do that 1 more time. Inhale, shift forward. Hug your elbows in and lower down onto your prop. Press down through your palms, straighten through your elbows, and come back to your tabletop. So that is a Chaturanga. That is a Chaturanga. So you have done a Chaturanga. Kudos to you tonight. You can always, even through any practice, you can always be on your knees to do a Chaturanga. You can always use a prop like this for support. But by having this prop that's teaching you the control, because now you have this prop that's out in front of you saying, hey, I got you, I'm here for you. All right, so let's come down to a seated position. Maybe you use a blanket or a towel to sit up on to allow your hips and pelvis to be a little bit higher. And then let's extend our legs out in front of us. You might have a really deep bend in your knees. If you need to, you can always put some props underneath your knees. Sitting up nice and tall, take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, just walk your fingertips forward, and we're draping our belly towards our thighs. And you can just leave your hands right where they are. Your chin can tuck in towards your chest. So this posture might look familiar, right? Do you recognize this from when we were standing? This is just a seated forward fold. So this is our Paschimottanasana, our seated forward fold. There's no need to force your chest forward. Just allow yourself to drape here, stretching through your hamstrings, allowing a little bit of rest through the low back. On your next inhale, begin to walk your fingertips back towards your pelvis so you can come to a neutral spine. And then just walk your fingertips behind you. So you're going to start to lean into your fingertips, start to draw your shoulder blades towards one another, and maybe lift your gaze up towards the ceiling, coming towards an arching spine, countering our forward fold. Begin to walk your hands back so you come to a neutral spine, and then begin to make your way onto your backs. So rolling all the way down onto your back. Once you get onto your back, begin to have both soles of your feet flat on the mat, knees pointing towards the ceiling. Shoulders and back of your head resting on the mat. We're going to keep the left foot flat on the mat. Begin to draw your right knee in towards your chest, and we're going to take our right ankle and we're going to cross it over the left thigh. Now, you might stay here. You might lightly take your right hand to gently guide your right thigh away from your chest, coming towards what's known as a reclined figure four. So you can kind of see the four-leg shape here. So breathing in, breathing out through your nose. Noticing this hip opener here, noticing the stretch maybe in your right hip. You're noticing it in your right thigh. Continuing to breathe. And on your next inhale, begin to draw your right knee back into your chest. And we'll lower our right foot to the mat. Begin to draw your left knee in towards your chest, so keeping your right foot flat on the mat. And then begin to cross your left ankle over your right thigh this time, gently using your left hand as a guide. Just gently guide your left thigh away from your chest. And again, continuing to breathe in and out. Maybe coming back to the sealed lips, breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. On your next inhale, slowly draw your left knee in towards your chest. And then release your left foot back down to the mat. Now begin to draw both knees in towards your chest. Maybe you wrap your hands on your knees or your shins. And then begin to softly rock side to side, massaging your low back. Just rocking from left to right. Breathing in, breathing out. And the next time that you start to rock towards the right, begin to allow both knees to drift to the right for a reclined spinal twist. So if the knees don't reach the floor, the mat, that's okay. Just make sure that your shoulders are still resting along the mat. If it feels good, you might even open your arms up to a T. But allow the shoulders to relax away from your ears, still resting on the mat regardless of what your knees are doing. On your next inhale, gather your knees back into your chest, rolling onto your back. And then we'll shift our knees off to the left, allowing them to roll all the way to the left. Shoulders down, knees wherever they go, coming into a spinal twist off to the left. On your next inhale, begin to roll back onto your back, hugging both knees in towards your chest. And then our next posture is Shavasana. So maybe you bring both feet down to the mat. You might extend your legs long to the corners of each side of your mat. You can take a traditional Shavasana, that's a corpse pose laying on your back. You can keep your eyes open or closed. Just giving yourself a moment of rest here. Whatever that looks like for you. If you'd like, you could use your pillow or your blanket rolled up underneath your knees. So there's a little bit of a bend in your knees. And as much as you can, allow your breath to just come in and out. Try not to focus on anything in particular, but just allow yourself to rest here. Slowly begin to deepen your breathing. Maybe you begin to come back to the surface by wiggling through your fingers and your toes. Maybe you begin to circle through your wrists and your ankles. And if it feels good, you might even extend your arms up overhead as if you just woke up from a nice nap. When you're ready, begin to draw both knees in towards your chest. And then begin to roll onto either right or left side, coming into a fetal posture, a little ball. Keeping your eyes closed or your gaze soft. Use your top hand to help press you up into a seated position, much like how we started at the beginning of our practice. Begin to bring your hands towards your heart center, thumbs embracing your chest. Thank you all for practicing with me tonight. The light in me honors the light in each of you. With gratitude, namaste. Say it again. Okay. Blue Point is offering a special, if you're a new member, there's a 20% off coupon on the screen if you sign up for one of our options through the end of our series. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week on Thursday. Take care.